Apparently, the U.S. and or the West accidentally dropped weapons to ISIS again, and this time we have a video of it from YouTube.
Okay. ذخائر، معدات عسكرية، معدات إضافية. هذه بعض الأسلحة العسكرية التي ألقتها القوات الأمريكية للأحزاب اليابجية واليابكية. هذه حشوة RPG. هذه القنابل التي ألقتها قوات أمريكية الأحزاب الكردية. الحمد لله غنائم للمجاهدين.
ISIS now has more U.S./Western grenades, rockets, weapons, ammunition. You saw the big old parachute there, and you saw all the boxes stacked on top of each other. Now, maybe I'm an idiot, but I had no idea you could just drop grenades in like that, because I would think that you're risking them exploding if you drop them in like that, even if they hit the ground going very slowly, if a pin pops out of it and everything will go kaplooey. But I don't know anything about weapons, so maybe I'm just speaking totally ignorantly here. But man, is that scary. Man, is that scary. And wow, is Ron Paul right about everything when it comes to foreign policy. The group of people that don't get nearly enough credit on this issue are libertarians. Like, yes, progressives are good on this, but sometimes they're wishy-washy, and sometimes they're more likely to support intervention if it's a Democratic president calling for intervention. But more or less, they're non-interventionists. But the people who are consistently non-interventionist and also against arming, it's the libertarians. Ron Paul's been screaming this for the longest time. And he is proven right time and time and time and time again, because when you watch stuff like this, you go, oh, I see. We could have avoided a further problem by simply doing nothing, by not sending arms to the region. For those of you who don't know, it's likely the case that those weapons were for Kurdish fighters who are, of course, going against ISIS, but ISIS was able to get their hands on them. For people who don't know, this is how ISIS has gotten most of their weapons, is from the U.S. So let me give you a few examples. One of the things they did is all the stuff that the U.S. left behind in Iraq when we left there, we didn't take the weapons with us. We just left them sitting in Iraq. What a dumb idea, because there are obviously radical people in the region or nearby who can swoop in and take it, and that's exactly what happened with ISIS. But, of course, we left the weapons behind because the military-industrial complex needs to move on. Why bring home tanks and Humvees and anti-aircraft missiles and all that stuff if you could just have Raytheon and Boeing and KBR make more planes, make more Humvees, make more anti-aircraft missiles, so on and so forth? So we just left them behind. We said, no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Nothing can go wrong. We'll just leave this weaponry in the middle of possible jihadist territory. And ISIS swooped in and took it. So if we just never left the weapons there in the first place, by the way, $10 billion worth, well, then ISIS wouldn't be nearly as well armed as they are right now. Also, we approved a weapons transfer from our allies, Saudi Arabia, to go to the FSA, the Free Syrian Army, who are fighting against Assad at the moment. You know what happened to those weapons? ISIS got their hands on them. Now, they either got their hands on them because they beat the FSA in some sort of fighting and then they took the weapons, or there may have been some defectors in the FSA who just went to ISIS and gave them the weapons. But either way, ISIS is better armed because we are getting involved. And now we have another example of it right here, where the U.S. means well, we want to help the Kurds, we want to fight ISIS, but we're so clunky and stupid in how we go about our business, we drop a gigantic load of weaponry with a parachute in the middle of a field, and ISIS just casually walks in like, oh, look at this. Grenades and rockets and all different types of ammunition. Well, this is wonderful. Thank you very much, the United States of America. And then never mind the fact that ISIS would have never risen to power if we didn't go into Iraq in the first place in 2003. When we went in there, toppled Saddam, and de-Baathified the government, we pissed off a lot of Sunnis. And the Sunni Baathists who were part of the Saddam regime, they later on ended up teaming up with ISIS, even though they're not they don't actually have a natural allegiance with ISIS, because the Baathists are secular and ISIS is, of course, over-the-top fundamentalist and religious. But they teamed up because they wanted to oppose the Shiite government in Iraq. So we've set up a situation where every move that we made when we started the war on terror from 2001 in Afghanistan, 2003 in Iraq, and onwards, we've created a bigger problem. We've created more terrorists. We've bred hatred against the United States of America. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be jihadists and there wouldn't be terrorists if the U.S. didn't carry out the foreign policy that we're doing. But what I am saying is there would be many, 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 many less jihadists and terrorists targeting us and in existence if it wasn't for the United States getting involved in these areas. Another perfect example of this is drone strikes. When you blow up thousands of people in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, and elsewhere, you radicalize people. Because if you kill somebody's nephew or aunt or uncle or brother or father, people go, you know, I was neutral about the U.S. before. I really didn't give a shit one way or another, but now I want to kill them. Grab me an AK-47. I'm going to go join Al-Shabaab or Al-Nusra Front or Boko Haram or Ansar al-Sharia or any of these jihadist groups, which popped up after we started fighting the war on terror because we've given them a rallying cry and we've given them an argument. I mean, Vice has done great coverage of this where they show the Taliban giving speeches. And the first argument the Taliban uses is, oh, wouldn't you love it if these Americans would get out of here and stop killing our people? Wouldn't you love it if your brother didn't die because of an American drone? Well, now you can actually fight for your country, and you can fight for what's right. You could save your oppressed people by, here's a gun, now we're going to fight the West, the evil power. Well, if we weren't there doing that, it would be a much harder sell to try to get people to join with that argument, because that argument wouldn't carry any water. But it does, because we are fucking shit up in the worst way imaginable. And then when we try to help it, we make it worse, and you're seeing a perfect example of that right here. Let's get out of there, mind our business, and also do this crazy thing called defense. Actual defense, not just in name only, where we bring back our troops, actually protect the country, okay, and we put ourselves in a situation where we don't breed further hatred against the U.S., and the only time we use our military is to respond against an imminent attack, which is, of course, the common sense position that we've altogether moved away from.